We are live, WinDailySports.com. My name is Jon Jansen. Follow me at JJansen34. Another live stream here for you, all sponsored by the Sharp app. And, of course, every Tuesday for the NFL season, we are going to be doing some targets and touches. And we actually have some data to look through. We actually get the numbers. We get the
Finally.
I can't wait. It's so much better when you get to do this. Like Monday was just, it was amazing to actually talk about what had happened instead of what's going to happen. So we get to do a little bit of both here with targets and touches. I'm joined by my guy, Stoweby. You can follow at STOWEBY on Twitter. Make sure to subscribe for gold membership, WinDailySports.com. NFL 2021 is the promo code that you can use to get $100 off a 6-month gold membership at Win Daily Sports. So, Stoweby, first of all, I'll start here with targets and touches because there are two guys that, at least at running back, which I want to start out with all the running backs, that truly stand out to me. Joe Mixon and Mark Ingram, good Lord, they got a heavy dosage. I don't know if we're expecting that every week, but, I mean, that's a pretty good start week one.
Well, I was kind of expecting Joe Mixon, not quite to that volume. I know we had talked about Mixon. I thought this was going to be his breakout year, so and this is smart to use him as the workhorse while Burrow gets himself kind of comfortable coming back from that knee injury. So that's fantastic. It also helps that it was the Vikings run defense. So
it helps. It helps.
Yeah. Now, Mark Ingram, I had no idea that they were going to play that well, to be honest with you. And I think that's more of a situation where Urban Meyer was, I don't know what he was doing because that running game was averaging 5 yards a carry, and he decided to let Joe Burrow throw the ball 51 times and run this game plan that does not make any sense for Houston, which kind of allowed them to get a lead that I don't think many of us were thinking was going to happen.
Right, yeah, and so Trevor Lawrence dropped back 51 times. So, it was a heavy passing game. We weren't expecting that. And on the Houston side of things, they got out to such a big lead that they just started running the ball a lot. But I think we at least know this. Like, that's Joe Mixon's backfield, right? Like, I think by far, like, very clear, easily, that is Joe Mixon, or that is Mark Ingram's backfield. There's Phillip Lindsay's, like, he's going to get involved. We saw him get involved in the passing game a little bit. And, of course, David Johnson got a few carries. But Mark Ingram's the guy. Now, you still have to play situational here because Houston's still very bad, and they're not going to play Jacksonville's defense every single time.
They're playing Cleveland.
Right. So, like, this matchup here, I expect maybe some touches for sure. I'm not expecting any of the results, though. So, Mark Ingram in this spot would be a heck no for me in the I guess furthest possibility. Like there's no way in any circumstances I'm putting him in, but it is noticeable to say that he is the number one guy. So when the matchup does come again, like Jacksonville, we can go, okay, Ingram's going to be the guy here. We can see close to, 20, 25 carries out of the backfield.
Yeah. I think that's fair. He's very situational. Don't plug him into your DFS lineup here come Sunday because it's not going to go well for you.
Was there? Yeah, no, it's not. And was there anything else that surprised you in terms of running back? I think two of them for me and the Detroit. Obviously, things are different. All these game scripts that happen for these teams in week one likely aren't always going to be the same for week two and for the rest of the season. Like Detroit's not going to be down 31-10, in the first half every game. Now they will be down in every game, it seems like, but they won't be getting beat like that by the 49ers every single time. But DeAndre Swift was heavily utilized in the passing game, 11 targets. He led the Lions in targets. So did TJ Hawkinson at 10. But he had 8 receptions, 65 yards, and a touchdown. Led the team in carries, 11 carries for 39 yards, even though Jamal Williams was a little bit more efficient out of the backfield. But I think, while Jamal Williams could actually be a better back when it comes to carrying out of the backfield, and I love DeAndre Swift, so I think that would be pretty neck and neck, and I think I would still give the edge to Swift. Still, he is by far their all-around back, and he's going to be heavily utilized in the passing game, it looks like.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, most of the time, the Lions are going to be down, so you can feel pretty safe that his targets and through the air is going to be is going to be pretty good all season. I wasn't expecting him to be utilized quite as much in the passing game. So I thought Williams was going to get a little bit more out of it, maybe edge him out in that. But I mean, he looks. That's a good running back tandem they have in Detroit. That's kind of a bright spot if you were to look at it. So that was definitely surprising. Now, Derrick Henry was a surprise. I was expecting a lot more out of Derrick Henry. That whole game was just strange to watch them throttle the Titans like that in week 1. And who was the other one that I was looking at that was a little bit strange?
And there are 2 backfield situations that I thought, because of healthy scratches were very interesting. First of all, we'll start with Trey Sermon in San Francisco. He was a scratch, but now Raheem Mostert's injured. He's in the IR. Elijah Mitchell's the guy, but this Kyle Shanahan offense utilizes multiple running backs, and I imagine Mitchell is not going to get 19 carries every single game. This is a backfield where multiple guys can get double-digit touches. So do you expect Mitchell to get the majority of the carries, or who's some of the other guys that you think get involved here? And is it Trey Sermon?
Honestly, with San Francisco, the coaching staff and the beat writers happen to be playing this little game where they do not release injury information until after the game starts.
Nice.
So I don't know how they're doing that, because they did not tell anybody that Trey Sermon got passed on the depth chart until after kickoff.
Right.
So that whole situation, and they also didn't tell us about Brandon Ayuk and his and it was a quad or it was a hamstring. They were trying to ease him in slowly. They didn't release any of that information. He was not on the injury report. They did not talk about it at all. So they're not doing their freaking job over there in San Francisco. And that sort of stuff is supposed to actually get released to people so that we can do our analysis. And that is just that's a failure of a different sort. So to be honest with you, if that continues, I'm not going to be able to give anybody a good read on San Francisco, because if they're not honest with us, we can't project these things accurately.
Yeah, and well, the 49ers running back situation is it's one that's messy to begin with. Yeah, so I don't think we're going to get really anything concrete out of this. So I would say Elijah Mitchell would be the guy, and Trey Sermon is a scratch. I'm going to take that on the surface and just say, look, maybe it's not going to be his backfield for now. I think where else I want to go is the Buffalo Bills backfield with Devin Singletary, Zach Moss. A healthy scratch, but what do you think of Singletary here?
That was surprising as hell. If they try to have a concerted effort in the run game for Buffalo, which it seems like they are leaning into it a lot more than they did last season, I do like potentially looking at Singletary as like in your seasonal, picking him up on the waiver wire and trying to see what's going on there, because I wasn't expecting that. I mean, we were all kind of looking at Buffalo's backfield and thinking that Zach Moss was going to be the guy that came out on top early. So it was very much a surprise to see that. Oh, is my audio out, or hold on just a second? Sorry about that, fellas. Got a little technical difficulties. We'll be back. But Zach Moss and Devin Singletary, that was kind of a strange situation. And then let me see here. I found it kind of odd that Miles Sanders was still getting spells where he wasn't getting used with oh, you're not back yet? All right, with Kenneth Gainwell, especially down there at the goal line. That was a little bit odd.
Sorry about that radio station stuff, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay. Okay, there you go. I wasn't sure if we were having technical difficulties or what.
No. I was making you see if you would sink or swim here. And no, you did pretty good. But yeah. That running back situation is going to be one to watch for in Buffalo. You know what? Now that we got 2 questions here, Stoweby. Kenneth Gainwell, really? Is that? Yeah. Are we doing that? Are we doing this? It's a thing.
It's not a thing for us, but it's a thing for Philly.
It
I
is.
I was
Well,
not.
I thought he was going to get he was going to be the RB2. So to see that wasn't surprising. To see how involved he was in the running game specifically, I thought he would be the pass catching role, for Boston Scott. He would take that over, and he very clearly did. I was really shocked to see Kenneth Gainwell get as many carries as he did, and especially a goal line carry and a short yardage carry as well. So those two circumstances pretty much surprised the heck out of me.
Yeah, I was not expecting that, because if those touches went to Sanders, I mean, we had him locked in as a GPP play, and he was like 4% owned. If he did not lose out on those key downs, I mean, he could have ended up, RB2, RB3 on the evening when it was all said and done, and we just kind of missed out on it. It's it's a freaking mess, man. Let me see.
But still, Miles Sanders got enough of the touches and usage that it's okay for him, right? I think it's just trying to figure out, if how involved Gainwell is going to be, and I think he's the number 2 guy clearly, and there's nobody else there.
Oh yeah, and it's not like his output. Most of the running backs didn't really do a whole lot unless your name was Mixon, McCaffrey, or Dow Cook, or Nick Chubb. So it's. You had a lot of wide receivers that ended up outscoring a lot of these running backs, which isn't typically how it goes with DFS. A lot of the times your running backs are the ones that are far and above ahead, except for like your one-offs. So it was an interesting little week.
Yeah, it really was, especially for the Eagles. And look, they're not going to win every game 32-6. They could be better than people expect, but just it's not going to be that every single week. So it's just figuring out if Gainwell's going to get touches, if games are a little bit closer, a little bit low scoring, if that's going to be the case. But yes, that is an Eagles hat, by the way. Go Birds, baby. But yeah, to me, it's Miles Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell, and that's it. So if you ever see a spot where you think the Eagles are going to be in a game script where they have to pass a little bit more, Gainwell's going to be involved in the passing game. And Miles Sanders can. He was involved in a lot of screen passes, but I think that, Kenneth Gainwell is one that is going to benefit in a game script that is going to be more pass heavy. And I think that is going to happen a few times, absolutely, this season. So Gainwell's one to watch, but yeah, Miles Sanders, got enough of the carries, 15 carries, 74 yards. He was outstanding. Even had 5 targets for 4 receptions. So yeah, it's Miles Sanders' backfield, and that's going to be interesting to see, just how that continues to go. And look, that was a game where I thought maybe they could have ran the ball a little bit more if they actually were able to put get some more points earlier in that game. I thought they left some points on the field in the first half, which then they would have blown that game open, before even the third quarter ended. But it was a good game plan, and Miles Sanders definitely, I think, showing you still an RB2, but I think he proved you a solid RB2, right?
Yeah. I feel comfortable still continuing to use him going forward. They didn't do anything that made me kind of concerned. It was just a little bit odd to see those extra Gainwell touches. I'm still good with using him, getting the lion's share of the work. I think his workload will continue to be 15 plus carries and then a handful of targets every week under a Sirianni offense. So I'm not concerned about it. It was just a little bit odd to see that target share in the way, and that might have been a result of it being week 1 and wanting to ease people in and not have people take the bulk of the carries in week 1 and kind of getting them in the game shape, because they didn't really utilize the preseason to do that this year. So I think that's more kind of the case, and I think it'll even out to where Sanders might get a little bit more of the work, barring any sort of injury situation.
Is David Montgomery now a fantasy RB1? Still not enough pass catch. I was hoping he would be more involved in the pass. Now, he would look dynamite running the ball. So if you're worried about, sort of the physical traits and if he's going to be able to break away from the defense, all that, the guy's got great ability, and I think he's proving that yet again. But, they used Damian Williams for, 5 targets, and that pretty much took most of the running back targets. David Montgomery had 1, and he had caught that for 10 yards. But other than that, not involved kind of in the passing game here.
Yeah, Nagy's going to Nagy.
Yeah, it truly is. David Montgomery should have had probably close to 20 carries in this game. Maybe more.
Yeah. He is not utilized to his full ability with that current coaching situation. I love the talent. I just don't like that trajectory. I still think you can still put him in a DFS lineups and still use him in seasonal, and he's going to be, largely productive. There's going to be weeks where he is not used correctly, and Nagy's got this bad habit of wanting to do more trick plays than normal plays, and it's going to get it. We're going to have some weeks where he's going to do that crap, and it's just going to piss you off.
Yeah, Atlanta, we are at the point now, there's no use of using running back in Atlanta because Mike Davis he's not going to take that job. And Cordero Patterson, you're not putting in. I'm sorry. I can't do it.
Yeah. I'm going to take a wait and see approach on that because Atlanta is, I knew they
look like a mess. They're going to be a bad team this year.
Yeah. That, and they don't necessarily have all the personnel that they need to run the packages that new coaching staff wants to run in. I mean, they have the tight ends, which I think that'll improve a little bit just as the weeks go on and as this offense gets fully implemented. But yeah, their defense is still disastrous with the personnel, and then their offensive line is still not anything to be scared of. So aside from Calvin Ridley, Pitts, and I mean,
it's pretty much
that's really
right?
it. Yeah, that's really it. If you want to go with Hurst, I think he's going to continue to receive enough targets in the passing game to be fantasy viable. You just temper your expectations for Atlanta for a while now.
Now this one, Najee Harris, 16 carries, 45 yards, and also had 3 targets, but only one of those he was able to grab. 100% of the snaps, though. I mean, eventually, in time, do you think? I think this is great. He's getting 100% of the snaps. We know that he is the sole, running back that they are going to use, and he's going to get 100% of the snaps, and he's going to get all of the carries and touches out of that backfield. Is it just, is he going to have enough games where he's able to break free from what is a bad offensive line? Is this, this is why Najee Harris basically an RB2, right? He's going to get 100% of the snaps, but it just comes down to, can the Steelers actually block for him?
Yeah, and he's going to be fine most weeks, but I think if you're for wanting to go ahead and make sure you lock him in as a starter or as a DFS play, you need to look at it, situationally. Look at the defenses that they're going to be going against, because I mean, Buffalo has made some improvements on that side of the ball, and their offensive line isn't put together very well. I know they brought in a new offensive line coach, and they're trying to change some things around, and they're putting a lot of effort into that. But give it a few weeks. I don't think we're gonna see Najee, struggle continuously. I think over here pretty soon, I think they're gonna be good enough to where Najee's gonna be able to go off.
Yeah, I think so. I think that running game's gonna hit sort of a groove, and he will as well. We saw him break away a couple of runs, so I think in time, the 100% of the snaps are going to be fruitful very soon.
Yeah, his talent's gonna override a lot of the weaknesses in that offensive line here before too long. They just gotta reach a point where they're kind of comfortable with where they're at, and then Najee will take off. He's way too talented to not put together some big games.
Yeah. So let's go over to the wide receivers now as we're going through some targets and touches here. WinDailySports.com, sponsored by the Sharp app. Subscribe, Win Daily Sports, for gold membership. By the way, week 1, we did fantastic. We already had subscriber win 10K. Big T was winning all over the place. So a lot of big winners already this season. And of course, the Van Jefferson first touchdown sticks. Use SOB hitting that one already. But
what was that, plus 8,000.
Oh yeah, it was something ridiculous. But we had a great weekend, first week of the NFL season at Win Daily Sports, and we're trying to do it again, and we'll do it again for week 2. Make sure to subscribe, WinDailySports.com. Sign up for gold membership. Use the promo code NFL2021 for $100 off of a 6-month gold membership. So let's go to the wide receivers, and there were a lot of, games where 50 passes in these games. We saw ridiculous passing numbers. Do you expect that to continue? Because if that happens, then Chark, Jones, and Shenault are all viable. If that happens in Dallas again, then Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and CeeDee Lamb are all viable options.
right now it's going to be Cedric
And Cedric
Wilson.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. So, I mean, which one's passing offenses now that you saw with that high volume do you think is repeatable? Like, I don't find Jacksonville to be, and so we'll break that down a little bit more. But, is that what we can expect mostly out of Dallas? That all three guys, and now Wilson because of an injury, that are going to be involved for the entire game because they're just going to throw as many times as they can.
Well, I mean, Dallas's defense isn't anything that I've ever been scared from. So, I mean, I think these high total games for Dallas are going to continue. That's why I was so high on on Dak's props at the beginning of the season for was it 32.5 touchdowns or something like that, or 33.5. I was taking the over on that, and I didn't even think twice about it. Cooper and CD Lamb, and now probably Dalton Schultz to an extent is probably going to get a boost. And I'm probably a little more bullish next week on Ezekiel Elliott, but I'll break that down in my running back article. There's just so much offensive potential there, and I think they can feed all of them just because of the way that they play.
Yeah, definitely can. And I think there are a couple of, offenses here that we're really going to have to see, this week to what exactly they are. Again, Jacksonville is the one that kind of leads the way here of, I don't think they're going to be dropping back 50 times every single game. So
I hope not.
No, right. I hope not. I mean, it would be great for, those that have Trevor Lawrence and all of these wide receivers. So I'll ask you this then. If we do see that, I mean, we could expect that to maybe be cut in half this week against Denver. So let's just say that those passing numbers get cut in half. Who is the one still going to get the majority of the targets here? Because it was split pretty evenly. That's going to happen, though, when you throw the ball over 50 times. So, were you more impressed by Chark? Chark led the way with 12 targets.
Mm-hmm.
It was Chenault and Marvin Jones both had 9. Jones was the one that caught the most, but DJ Chark had the most yards. So how did you kind of sort out that wide receiver group for Jacksonville? Because there seems like there is going to be some fantasy value here. Those guys are good.
There is, and I liked all those guys at their draft stock before the season started. But I think Chark is the most physically talented of all of them. Like as far as just getting down the field and making these big plays, that's my personal opinion on it. So if we're looking at one guy that we might want to target against Denver, I'd personally go for Chark.
Yeah, Chark was fantastic. I think it's clear. Like Chenault's good, but to me, if I want to wide receivers, it's going to be Marvin Jones or DJ Chark. Like those are the two guys that I'm going to take.
Yeah,
I don't want to get too cute with Chark yet. Once Urban Meyer decides to get more cute with him and involve him in the running game, he only had 1 carry for 9 yards. If he decides to get cute with him and start using him a little bit more, then I'd be thinking about it. But as of right now, in terms of their traditional drop back passing offense, it's more likely going to be DJ Chark and Marvin Jones each week that are going to be the top 2 guys. What surprised you the most in terms of wide receivers and some of the targets that were handed out? Was it? Miami's a little bit of an interesting one because Devontae Parker had 7 targets, which is one more than Waddle. So Parker's still going to be involved here. But were there any surprises in terms of targets?
Well, if we go all the way back to Thursday, I was actually kind of surprised with. I thought Antonio Brown was going to take a step forward, but I didn't think that he was going to take so much.
Right, be like almost look like the number 1 guy. To be honest,
him.
With you.
Well, him and Gronk. It's like 2015 all over again. It's these guys both look like they've rolled back the clock, and it's pretty. I know it's pretty early on in the season, and then also I was a little bit surprised at Ayuk, but we already kind of talked about that. I was a little bit surprised that they didn't utilize him enough, but then we found out the injury information after the game. So that was a little bit surprising. And Zach Wilson for the Jets, I want to take a closer look at his film, but that guy, both him and what's his name over there in New England, Mac Jones.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, that guy, the guy that replaced Cam. Look, he made several throws on Sunday that Cam Newton just cannot make. So I am really like that one he threw to James White down the field. Cam doesn't have that throw in his arsenal. He does not have that. So I'm going to look a little more at the film with both of those teams specifically, and just kind of and try to dissect that, because I think there might be something there that we can take advantage of later on down the year that we can really, really use in DFS.
Yeah, look, the Patriots in terms of target splits, I mean, Mac Jones had 39 attempts, but 7 targets for Aguilar, 7 for James White, 9 for Jacoby Myers, 5 for Jonnu Smith, 3 for Hunter Henry. So,
yep.
Obviously they're not going to drop back 39 times. And that's the hard part is, do we see this shift in kind of offenses? Even with New England, that they're just going to drop back this many times because this is the league now, and this is how teams expect to win.
If it is, then we need to take a very close look at how we utilize our flex positions.
Yes, absolutely. I agree.
Because for years, I have been a running back first guy because I like the guaranteed touches. And that's, our mentality has been for years to load up on running back depth, because you never know when you're going to need it. And you want to be kind of ahead of that mindset shift if you want to go ahead and take advantage of it before other people start catching on. But if we continue to see 40 and 50 passes from these quarterbacks, or where they just abandon the run altogether, we may need to go ahead and change the way that we're thinking about how we utilize our DFS lineups in the flex positions and how we draft going forward.
Yeah, it's definitely, because this might be a precursor, and that we've been watching this league change over the years, but this was the first time really that it was eye-opening, the amount of passing numbers.
And it very well may be just a week 1 overreaction. And
absolutely could be 100%. Yeah,
and we all tend to do that. We've been watching for months, and then things don't quite play out the way that we think they are. So we'll see week 2 if we see trends continue like this, then it's going to behoove us to get ahead of the curve.
Yeah. And we may be switching over to, I think you're right, wide receivers going into the flex here in a bit. But all right, so final things. I know we went over a lot there in terms of running backs and wide receivers. So just your final thoughts, especially heading into week 2. What are some of the guys that you saw get targets or touches that you think, okay, week 2, I'm going to try that again, or at least I'm going to, I think that's going to happen again. Like, what are the guys in week 2 that you're kind of relying on here?
Actually, I'm going to be a little bit. I'm still going to go with Antonio Brown, because I think that continues.
I just put in my flex for week 2 already. I have him ready to go. I'm willing to try that again. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, definitely. Somebody for the tight end position that I'm actually interested in looking at is Noah Fant, with Judy out for the foreseeable future.
I think he gets more benefit than like a Tim Patrick does, and even Tim Patrick does kind of be the direct replacement for Jerry Jeudy, but don't forget KJ Hamler too. If he didn't drop that deep touchdown pass, which is right in his hands, he would have had a huge fantasy day. So keep your eye on him as well. I think they're going to utilize him more in trying to get downfield.
Yep, and somebody that may stay sneaky is somebody like a Cole Beasley getting 13 targets.
God, yeah.
Like, he's just, every year in and year out, he gets overlooked, and at the end of the year, he's always, right around 80, 90, 100 catches and right around 1,000 yards, and it's just year in and year out, and people don't realize it. So that's somebody that I'd be willing to take a look at next week too, just after I look at all the game film.
Yeah. So that is it for targets and touches, and we're going to have much more for you this week here at WinDailySports.com. Week 2 coming up. We had a great week 1. Looking forward to a great week 2, and you can get in on all of the fun over at Win Daily Sports. WinDailySports.com. Subscribe for a gold membership. Use the promo code NFL2021. That is still active. If you use that promo code, you'll get a 6-month gold membership at Win Daily Sports for $100 off. So make sure to subscribe and join in on the fun all season long. Also, this is sponsored by the Sharp app. Go to sharp.app or go to any of the app stores, whatever you prefer, whatever one you go to, and just search up the Sharp app. That is it for us. I am Jon Jansen. Follow me at JJansen34. That is Stoweby, my guy, at STOWEBY. Tomorrow we'll be back with Tony Cotillo, and that'll be a 6 o'clock start with Tony here at WinDailySports.com. So we'll be back tomorrow, but be sure, subscribe on our YouTube channel at Win Daily Sports, and be sure to